the high priest is Jesus Christ. And Jesus walks among the 7 candlesticks. Why does Jesus walk among the 7 candlesticks? Because He wants to make sure that the candlesticks have sufficient oil so that they can give light. In fact, let's notice that. Let's go back to the book of Leviticus, chapter 24 and verses 1 to 4, to see what the role of the high priest was in the holy place of the sanctuary, at least one of his roles in the holy place of the sanctuary. Leviticus 24 and verses 1 through 4. Let me ask you, what was Aaron? What was the function of Aaron? Aaron was the high priest, and this passage is talking about Aaron. Notice what it says there in Leviticus 24 and verse 1. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the children of Israel that they bring to you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to make the lamps what? Burn continually. So they were to bring oil so that the lamps would burn continually and never go out. Continues saying, now notice where this takes place, where Aaron is performing this particular task. It says outside the what? The veil of the testimony. In other words, outside the veil that divided the holy from the most holy place. This is taking place in what apartment? It's taking place in the holy place of the sanctuary, because that's where the candlestick is. So it says in verse 3, outside the veil of the testimony, in the tabernacle of meeting. Now notice, Aaron shall be in charge of it from evening until morning before the Lord. How? Continually. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. He shall be in charge of the what? Of the lamps on the pure gold lampstand before the Lord continually. What was the role of Aaron the high priest in walking among the candlesticks? It was to make sure that the candlesticks always had oil and the wicks were trimmed so that the candlestick never ceased giving what? Never ceased giving its light. It was to perpetually give its light. Now let me ask you this question. Were there periods in church history where the light flickered and it looked like it was going to go out? Have any of you ever heard of the Dark Ages? Why do you suppose they're called the Dark Ages? Because there was a scarcity of what? There's a scarcity of light. But listen up. Even though this period was dark, it was not totally dark. The light of the church never went out, because Jesus was walking throughout the history of the Christian church, illustrated by the fact that He's walking among the 7 candlesticks. He was always walking in the midst of the history of the church to make sure that the light of the church never went out. Let me ask you, on the day of Pentecost, what was it that gave the disciples the power to preach the message to the world? The Holy Spirit was poured out. And so here you have illustrated the disciples would be like the candlesticks. This would be the first candlestick because it's the apostolic church. And they needed what? They needed the oil. Now who poured out the oil upon them? Jesus Christ. Through the power of what? Through the power of the Holy Spirit. So the 7-branch candlestick simply represents God's church in all ages, giving the light of Jesus Christ through the power of the Holy Spirit. And who is in the midst of the church making sure that the light never goes out? Jesus Christ, the high priest, is in the holy place making sure. Now go with me to Matthew chapter 5 and verses 14 through 16. Matthew chapter 5 and verses 14 through 16. Here Jesus is speaking about His followers and one of the roles of His followers. He says here, you are the light of the world. What are we? The light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a what? There it is, on a lampstand. And it gives what? Light to all who are in the house. And then Jesus explains what He means by this, by saying that we are light and we're like a lampstand that needs to be put on a place where everyone can see it. Notice verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Folks, anyone who has the Holy Spirit in his or her life will shed light to the world. If we don't have any light to give, it's because we are not connected with the source of light. Notice in the book, Christian Service, page 21, Ellen White had this awesome statement. Everyone who is connected with God will impart light to others. If there are any who have no light to give, it is because they have no connection with the source of light. That's an awesome statement, which means that if we're not witnessing, if we're not telling others, we don't have the oil. We are not connected with the source of light. And by the way, when Jesus said, "You are the light of the world," actually, Jesus is the light of the world, isn't He? Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." So how can He say to the church, "You are the light of the world"? Well, let me give you an illustration. Let's take the sun. Does the sun have its own light? Does it have its own original light? Absolutely. Now at night, the sun shines on what? It shines on the moon. Is the light of the moon light? Of course it is. But is it original light or is it derived light? It's derived light. So when you go out at night and you see the beautiful moon, you say, "Oh, what a beautiful full moon." That's only partially true. What you should really say is "Oh, the sun is sure beautiful tonight, isn't it?" Because the glory of the moon is the glory of the sun. And so it is with us. When we are connected with the sun, we are like the moon, and we project the light of Jesus Christ to the world. If we are not projecting light, it is because we have no connection with the source of light.